Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Mafia 3. I played it on the Xbox One. It's also available on the PS4 and the PC. Mafia 3 is the story of Lincoln Clay, who is back from Vietnam, and he comes home to find out that his mobster family, essentially, is in trouble with a much larger mafia family. He takes on a job for them, and, well, the job doesn't exactly go as planned, but things still go fairly well until, of course, the larger mafia family turns on him and, executes his brother and father figure. But unfortunately for them, they failed to kill Lincoln Clay properly, so he comes back and he is out for vengeance. Fortunately for Lincoln Clay, he is not alone. There are other people in town that want to bring down the Marcano family just as badly as he does. I've got to say, I actually enjoy the story of Mafia 3. There are a few things I don't like, specifically relating to some of the cutscenes that aren't really cutscenes. You have to sit through some dialogue that isn't necessarily worth sitting through. One of the cool things about Mafia 3's story is the way they tell it. Some of the things are told in these flash forwards, where it's people either talking to a congressional hearing or a documentarian or something like that. I think that's pretty cool. You're playing through events that have already happened. You're basically playing through these people's memories. Now, when it comes to the audio of this game, it's pretty good audio. The guns sound good. The voice acting is actually very good for the most part. I didn't really have any major issues with any of the people. I didn't think anyone sounded too stereotypical, which in a game like this, when you've got Southern accents, some Italian accents, you could really end up with some people sounding just way too stereotypical. I like the soundtrack. I think it's really cool. It definitely fits the vibe because this game is taking place in the 60s. There's some great 60s music. The only issue I really had with the audio was that whenever I would put my console into sleep mode and then I'd turn it back on and try and play the game, the audio would just be gone. I'd have to quit the game, close the app, and then reopen it and get my audio back. And while I never lost any data or anything like that, it was still just a pain in the ass to have to do that every time I wanted to put my console to sleep. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, it's nothing super unique, and it does get unfortunately repetitive. What you do is you go from zone to zone of the city, the different wards, and you basically take over them, take them from the previous Mafia guys, and make it your own, and distribute the territory to your underbosses. That is one of the more unique features of this game, is the underboss system. You can choose who you give territory to, and I know this has been talked about in all sorts of press stuff for this game, but I do think that is a cool system, and it's something unique for this style of game. The driving mechanics in this game are a little spotty, so is the aiming. There are some interesting features, I think I almost got abducted by aliens, and of course, nobody's gonna believe this because my Xbox One wouldn't fucking record it, but a giant green light came out of the sky over my car, but I guess I fucking outran it. I enjoy that they added a stealth element to this game. You can do stealth takedowns, so you can thin the ranks before shit goes sideways and the shooting must go down. When it comes to the controls, I think they're very good for the most part. I do feel like the movement is a little squirrely. That's the best way I can describe it. You don't always move the way I would like you to move in this game. There are just times where I somehow didn't line up with the doorway just right, so I have to spend a second trying to finagle myself into position. That gets annoying. I'd honestly say the weakest part of this game is the graphics. Some of the stuff looks wonderful. The characters look very good, but a lot of the vehicles do not. The very first mission, when you're driving an armored car, that thing looks awful compared to the rest. The other thing that I thought looked really terrible was when you're driving, you have a rear view mirror, and everything in that looks terrible. It just doesn't belong. The rest of the game is pretty good looking, but that is just horrible. I noticed a fair number of your average graphical glitches as well, including a car that fell through the floor, which looked kind of stupid, obviously, because it's a car that fell through the floor, and you could only see the top half of the car. But this game also had some really cool effects. I liked the weather for the most part, and if you get wet and come out, the wet clothing on your character, subtle detail, you know me, looks great. Overall, while I enjoyed this game, it's not the type of game that I would normally just sit down and sink hours and hours and hours into, like Grand Theft Auto or Saints Row. That having been said, I would definitely like to sit down and play this game more, but like at an hour at a time maybe. So I can't recommend owning this at full price. I think it's fun, but I'd actually say it's more of like, buy it at a discount. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you tell me if you've played the previous 2 Mafia games? Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share or subscribe. Have a good one.